Welcome one and welcome all to the greatest show of them all. It is the NFC East Mixtape, which you can listen to on any one of SB Nation's NFC East blog podcast networks. You can also watch the show on the Bleeding Gradation YouTube channel or the Blogging the Boys YouTube channel, where you used to see Brandon Lee Gowton supporting the Fightin' Phils, which he's not doing anymore.
Hey, I still am.
Must be ashamed after what happened on Monday night. You can see me supporting the Houston Astros. My name is RJ Ochoa because that's the only team I have in my life right now that's not willing to disappoint me in flagrant fashion. BLG, it is Tuesday, October 10th for us, the best month of the year. It is Wednesday, October 11th for the loyal listener. And it really ultimately all is meaningless, is what I have learned after week 5 in the NFL.
Very exciting times, RJ, as the Philadelphia Eagles take a 2-game lead over the Cowboys and even bigger lead over the rest of the division in the NFC East.
Everyone lost, but the Eagles won.
For the second time this season that's happened. So definitely a good start to the season for the Eagles. Still a very long season to go. Many things can change. Eagles schedule gets tougher. Lots and lots of things can happen, but pretty good start for the Birds.
We obviously are going to talk about the Eagles and the Cowboys and the Commanders, although the Commanders game was a week ago now, basically, and the Giants. Amazingly, the Giants are back in our life on primetime this week. Did you know that? They are the Sunday night game against the Buffalo Bills.
I did see that, and I was like, why?
I mean, you know the answer. I know you're kind of rhetorically asking, but it's because they had a successful season last year in an objective sense, and the NFL doubled down on the New York properties, especially with them and the Jets. So tough times right now for the G-Men. I saw some Giants content creators on TikTok that were like, please get us off of primetime. Like, we do not enjoy this. This is only embarrassing and humiliating for us. Yeah. But you know what? They beat the Packers last year in London, so at least they got that going for them.
That's exciting. That's meaningful.
Do we have anything else to kind of fiddle-faddle around with before we get into the games?
I don't think so. Anything good recently? I saw you made some wings or something.
I did. Shout out to Matt Pittman of Meat Church, who is does some stuff around the Dallas. I mean, some stuff, but like is really well known around the Dallas area. He had a honey garlic lime wing recipe that he had shared. So I wanted to try. I made them on Sunday about noon. We talked last week actually about how this was going to be like this epic sports weekend. We had A&M Bama on Saturday. A&M lost. So I was bummed. Texas lost to Oklahoma, which was at least a good thing. The Astros did win on Saturday, but I was all pumped up because it's really cool. You know this, like when your team plays on Sunday Night Football, you get all day to just soak up the football. And I was pissed that the Astros were the night game, but I was all set up. I had the extra TV. I had my wife, put some cookies in the oven. It was all great. And then the Cowboys, we'll get to the Astros lost. It was just a suck fest. It was just terrible. But the wings were really good. I had never done them in the smoker like that, and I had never made my own wing sauce, which was obviously what this recipe called for. So that was a therapeutic process, and I ate on them for a few sittings. It was really good. How was your burger thing at the Phillies game?
It was good. Good follow up by you.
Or whatever.
The Schwarberger. Yeah, it was good. It was actually the brisket on there was amazing, I have to say, especially for what you would not with all due respect to the people at Citizens Bank Park and the cooks there and everything. I just, I wouldn't expect like some very good brisket at a ballpark, but it was actually really, really good. I was like, wow, this is surprisingly great. The burger itself is fine. It wasn't like an amazing burger, but the brisket itself was the star of the show, and I definitely did not regret trying that out. And it was fun to see the Phillies win there, beat the Marlins to go 1-0 at that stage. I had a great time with my parents, so shout out to them. Obviously, loyal listeners of the NFC East Mixtape. So had a great time spending time with my family.
Okay, well, good job by the Citizens Bank Park employees and by you and your parents. I had at Petco Park over the summer the most incredible brisket nachos. So that was great. Ballpark food on the up and up here on the NFC East Mixtape. We go in divisional standing order, which means all of you. I also want to say this. I had a lot of Eagles fans chirping at me in my mentions. for general reasons, but also because we did not have Monday Football Monday, which is one of our shows that we have on the SB
Sure.
Nation NFL show. It did not go out on Monday. So, and it did not. And actually, I just am fresh off of recording this as you and I are recording now on Tuesday. It was Mark Schofield. I don't mind throwing him under the bus because he kind of did that himself, who chatted us, myself, Mark, obviously, JP Acosta, and Rachel, who produces this show as well. Mark was the one who was like, hey, are we going to do it on Monday because it's a holiday? And I was like, hey, Mark, that's up to you. I actually said you should ask Kist because, as we all know, Kist is the boss. And Kist, and Mark had a conversation, and it was decided that we would do the show on Tuesday. So BLG, what I'm pissed off about is I got all these people because of a decision that Mark made that were like, RJ's ducking Monday Football Monday. Oh, what a coincidence that the day after the Cowboys get blasted, there's no Monday Football Monday. We did it. I did it. But Mark set me up poorly. So kind of a poor teammate, coworker, colleague move by Mark Schofield.
Bad timing by you. Also, Mark could also be accused of dodging the show because of what's going on with the Patriots.
He said
right
that.
Now, but,
he said that, to be fair, so he kind of owned up to that himself. But it still was not a good scene for me, and it was completely Mark's fault. So,
all right, let's jump into it. Let's get to it.
The Philadelphia Eagles. This was one of their more impressive wins, I thought. I know that there have been some kind of sneaky ones, but it was a little bit teeny tiny tenuous, but not really. I haven't seen anybody make a big deal about the Jason Kelsey. I wouldn't even call it a blow up, but just animation on the sidelines.
He was just animated. He wasn't like furious,
right?
Or he wasn't
23
like fighting anyone.
23-14, the final score. And I just said this on Monday Football Monday, which was again on Tuesday. The Eagles have this ability to, like, we need a drive, done. There's the drive. Ball game, whatever. They covered, right? I think the line was what, 4.5?
It went down to 4, but yeah, either way.
So they covered. AJ Brown, who's motivated by me, obviously, had a really solid performance. Dallas Goedert got involved. This was, I think, if you're an Eagles fan, the game that, like, massages all of your concerns in a lot of different ways, and you feel really good, especially obviously what happened in the division around you.
The final score doesn't totally indicate it because they had stallings in the red zone, which is something we can get to, and that's an issue with the team so far this season. Only 5 teams have been worse in terms of red zone percentage. But, I mean, assuming they can get that fixed at some point, and even though they haven't gotten that fixed yet, let me read you a stat here from someone I cite often on the podcast, our good friend Shio Kapadia. 2022 Eagles offense, 27.2 points per game. 2023 Eagles offense, 26.4 points per game. So only 0.8 points per game of a difference. Not too bad. Also, 2023 Eagles offense is actually better than the 22 Eagles offense in both offensive success rate and EPA per drive. So I think that what we were saying early in the year about, like, Eagles are having some offensive issues. They're not in rhythm. They have a new offensive coordinator. Jalen Hurts didn't totally look right. That's all kind of coalescing. It's coming back together. They're figuring it out. Jalen Hurts has played his 2 best games of the season in the past 2 weeks. Again, I think offensive coordinator Brian Johnson's kind of figuring it out as he goes here, now into his 5th game of his career as a play calling offensive coordinator in the NFL. So they're making adjustments, I think, to things that weren't working earlier in the season. Jalen Hurts was using his legs more than he ever has in this game, figuring it out. And I think one of the most impressive things is that the Rams this season actually had the 2nd best third down defense in the league, and the Eagles went 13-18 on third down. One of those was at the end of the game where they weren't even trying. It's really like 13-17. So that was really impressive. They moved the ball well. The big thing in this game, RJ, was AJ Brown, as you mentioned, turning point. Eagles go down 14-10 with 32 seconds remaining in the first half. Eagles defense is, like, not looking great. Don't have an answer for Cooper Kupp. Puka Nacua is scoring he had set a touchdown. It looks like things could go bad here for the Eagles because Rams take a 4-point lead and get the ball back to begin the third quarter. So it's like, not looking great. All of a sudden, Eagles go 75 yards in 4 plays for a touchdown. And that was largely, inspired by AJ Brown. Eagles go up 3 points instead of being down by 4 entering the half. And from there, the Rams didn't score another point. So the Eagles defense really tightened up, and they were aided by the Eagles offense going on these long drives that did not end in touchdowns. Again, they only scored 6 points from a drives that went like 73 yards, 78 yards, 83 yards. So that's disappointing. But I do think, that's not really like the biggest thing to be worried about in terms of, I think they can figure the red zone out. Yeah. So this was the best win, and it did start to feel more like the 2023 Eagles. Sorry,
2022.
2022 Eagles.
Yeah, just kind of again, I know it was touch and go is not the right way to put it, but I mean, part of this is the Rams are more impressive than I think any of us were willing to give them credit for at the beginning of the season. So just kind of a little bit of a back and forth. One of the most impressive drives I've seen in the NFL this season was the end of the first half drive from the Eagles. Just like it was just like the quickest and easiest thing of all time. And of course, by the way, I have a question. Because I'm obviously not like attuned to this. Is the like tush push brotherly shove thing like is this like a thing? Like is this like a nationally like is this like a national topic every day that is like invading the Philly
Apparently,
sphere?
even though it was like a thing last year, it's not even new. So like, why are we still talking about it?
That's really my emotion on this. Like I don't have the take of like it's not a football play. Like it doesn't bother me. I'm not like a fan of it. I don't have any real passionate, stance on this. I understand that there are safety concerns. If that's the case, I'm certainly willing to hear that out and learn. But
No,
I don't have
there's not a special safety. There's no
I'm just saying like
especially
I know
dangerous
that
thing happening
I know
relative
that
to any
take
other
is
football play.
I know that take is floating around. That's all I'm saying. But I don't have a passionate take on this, but it keeps like entering my sphere that like national person X has like passionate take on
Hmm.
the tush push Philly brotherly shove whatever. I mean
It's
like
just boring.
it's
What's
just
there to say?
I mean I don't know. I will say like it's annoying that it is like brought up anytime any other team does it. I felt the same way when like anybody would try a Hail Mary. It was like, oh, they're trying to be Aaron Rodgers. It's like, yes, Aaron Rodgers was the first person to ever accomplish
Mm.
a Hail Mary in the NFL. But whatever. I don't mean to deviate from the subject. But yeah, like I thought it was bold to go for it in a good way at the end of the first half off of that. And of course, it worked out. Like that was just it felt like the Rams had a chance to really go into halftime with an opportunity to kind of build upon, but Philly just let the air out of that balloon with that drive at the end of the first half.
I want to read you some stats here. Your
I don't want
boy
to.
Nick Sirianni, apparently not the best head coach in the NFC East. He is just
I have
the
a Nick take by the way in a little bit that I think will interest you.
He's just the 8th NFL head coach since 1970 when the merger happened to guide his team to 5-0 starts in consecutive years, joining only Andy Reid, Tony Dungy, Mike Martz, Mike Shanahan, Mike Ditka, Tom Landry, and Bud Grant. First 5-0 start back-to-back in Eagles history, so that's pretty good stuff for Nick Sirianni. What's this take?
It's relative to the Cowboys, so I can't
Okay.
tell.
Well, maybe
I
we'll
can't
save
tell it
that.
to you.
But I also wanted
Um,
to put Jalen Hurts' performance in context because he's definitely playing better. And I brought up the quarterback wins thing a little bit last week when I didn't know who Daryl LaMonica is. But
uh,
now that he has 22 wins in a 23-game stretch, he is joining Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Jim McMahon, and Joe Montana as the 5th NFL quarterback since 1950 to do that. His 11-game win streak on the road is tied for the 3rd longest by an NFL quarterback since the 1970 merger, only behind Tom Brady at 13 and then Joe Montana at 18. And Jalen Hurts is the first quarterback in NFL history to record 30-plus rushing touchdowns in his first 50 career games.
hmm. Yeah, I mean, this was a good like pick your spirits up game. Not that they were if your spirits were down at 4-0, like come back down to earth. You know what I'm saying? But like this again, I do think I said it earlier. This made you feel better in all the right places. You know what I mean? Like if you had a concern about this, that, or whatever, it felt like the Eagles were like, oh, you're concerned about these specific things. Like we'll take care of that this week against the Rams.
I guess my biggest last thing on them, other than like I said, it's kind of a theme. The theme here is like the Eagles are heating up. They're getting back to their 2022 version a little bit. You can put Hassan Reddick in there. Reddick started off the season slow at 0 sacks in his first 3 games. Notable that he had thumb surgery and he had this big cast on his hand for those first 3 games. That came off against Washington. And sure enough, now he has 3 sacks in his last 2 games. And all 3 of them have been like clutch plays. And in the Washington game, it was to force a punt where the Eagles went up for that touchdown. And if they had played it smart there, they would have never let the Commanders get the ball back. So that wasn't his fault. Point being, it was like a really clutch 3rd down sack. And then this game, it was back-to-back sacks on Stafford to end the game, basically. So that's very encouraging to see Reddick heating up. But can't talk about the Eagles right now without talking about a guy who's been talked about all season, but it continues. Jalen Carter is the real deal in a big time way. if he was on the Cowboys, I'd be terrified. This is like he is a terrifying player. Even just like how he plays. I don't know if you saw his sack on Matthew Stafford. I've never. That's one of the most violent sacks I've ever seen. He just throws him to the ground. Like it's just a man amongst boys out there. He's up to 3.5 sacks through 5 games. That's already more than Dexter Lawrence, Quinnen Williams, Chris Jones, Jeffrey Simmons, Javon Hargrave, and Cam Hayward had in their rookie seasons. If you take his on pace numbers, which is obviously not that simple, but worth mentioning that like it's not impossible that he could get to Aaron Donald's 9 sacks that Aaron Donald has a rookie in 2014, or maybe even in Ndamukong Suh's 10 sacks that he had as a rookie in 2010. Like that's the kind of path he's on. It is crazy. It is wild. I think every team that has to play Jalen Carter should be afraid of Jalen Carter.
Bear was barking, so I was trying not to interrupt. But I mean, he's playing incredibly well. I don't think this is shocking. But I will say I don't mean this in a negative way, but you're obsessed with the like comparing him to the rookie seasons of all these other great players. Like I'm at, like I said, a point where like, okay, so he's very good compared to their rookie seasons. You need to start comparing to like elite seasons. Like that's what I'm interested in. You know what I mean? Like, but you're doing
like,
you're doing
that's
the thing
crazy.
that,
First of all, that you're saying that, like, that's a testament to him. It is not shocking in that we knew Jalen Carter is really talented. It is shocking in that he could be an all-pro as a rookie. That's not crazy. Like that's in play here.
I don't
That's
think
insane. That's crazy.
It's not inconceivable.
That's not a given. You weren't saying that as a given before the season. That
but like it was given that he was very good and that he was joining a defensive line that was very good. So like that 2 and 2 could make 4 is again not the like most improbable thing ever. But again, like I'm at a place where it's like, okay, I don't need to see him contextualized to rookie Chris Jones. You know what I mean? Like that's no longer like useful to me. You know what I mean? Let's adjust the event. I'm not a hater. I'm saying let's properly that if you're like, oh, let's take one of the like defensive player of the year worthy seasons of Chris Jones, and this is how he's even beating that. That's more interesting perspective. That's what I want to see at this point in time. So
okay, I mean, I think the rookie thing is relevant. It's hard. It's hard for rookie defensive tackles to produce.
It's relevant, but again, like he's like it's being destroyed at this point. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like so, like
he's gonna. What was his quote about the Cowboys in the offseason? That I think he was like, "I'm coming for the Cowboys," and he is, man. He's coming. He said he's quote ready to kill the Cowboys, and I think he very much is. He's ready to blow up anything in his way. He's a monster.
On the subject of talking about your future opponents, that is a perfect segue to the Dallas Cowboys. If you're done, I don't want to rush through.
Are we transitioning to the Cowboys?
That's what I was literally doing, and I asked you.
I'm just double checking. I just wanted to be
okay. You and I were kind of both left-footed right now, but the Cowboys talked up this game to the San Francisco 49ers, and well, I don't know. Do you want me to go first? Do you want to go first? Like, I mean, I don't know.
Well,
so I wrote an article, which I would encourage everyone.
I'm blogging the boys.
Yeah, I would encourage everyone to read. A, for the traffic, but B, because I do think this laid out at least how I feel, which we're about to discuss. But it was titled, "The Dallas Cowboys Begged for an Opportunity to Prove Themselves and Completely Failed." So I tweeted this out during the lambasting that the Cowboys took. That the Cowboys, and like I don't mean to like this isn't coping or anything, but the Cowboys are a good team, and like that's like the problem. Like they're a good team. They will probably be a playoff team, but like this was supposed to be proof that you're better than that. Like this was supposed to be proof that you have a higher glass ceiling than that. So like because I still believe that they are one of the whatever you like. Where did you have them in your power rankings today? I had them at 9. Like,
let me look really quickly at that. I did do them. I have them. I dropped them from I think 6 to 9. Yeah, I
dropped them from 5 to 9. I actually dropped them. I wanted to bring this up too, so this is a good way to do that. I dropped them more than anybody of the outlets that we curate. NFL.com, ESPN, The Athletic, Sports Illustrated, CBS Sports, Yahoo. Sports Illustrated didn't drop them at all. They had them at 5.
Wow.
I know. Well, I don't know,
it's
but
dumb.
I think the logic could be like, oh, they just ran into the best team in the NFL.
Yeah, but
like,
still, I mean, that's
I know, I agree. I'm just saying, but yeah, so like they're still a really good team. They're still a top 10 team. Like however you want to. Again, I think they will be a playoff team if I had to, forecast the future. But like this was supposed to be proof that you can be more than that. And not only was it supposed to be proof just in general because of the circumstances and the variables, but you said it. And you didn't only say it, you begged for it. You pleaded for it. You screamed from the mountaintops for a chance to go face daddy. And you got blown out. Like, you didn't even just lose. Like, it speaks enough to how low the bar is around here that had you only barely lost, you would have said, hey man, well, you showed that you could hang with them, and they're the best team in the NFL, whatever. But like, that didn't even happen. Like, it was never close. It was never even
Mhm.
moderately close. The Cavante Turpin touchdown was an impressive drive given the like chaos happening around them. So I'll give them like slight credit for that, but it was just a disaster. Like, you have the gap is larger than it's ever been with this team specifically. And I think this was after you and I, or it might have been the day you and I recorded last week. I mean it that like I'm not worried about the Cowboys playing the Eagles because we've seen that happen a million times. This is the benchmark for this team. Like, this is the team who owns them, and it was proven that they do. And oh man, like I don't want to get like too into the weeds on this, but like Micah Parsons went on his show at Bleacher Report, The Edge, and was all upset that George Kittle had the Dallas shirt. And dude, not the time. Like, like I respect, I really do, having a competitive mentality and using whatever
Short-term
you
memory.
well, yeah, and using whatever you can to channel yourself, and all that is fair game. I'm not a professional athlete, so I don't know, what goes into that, obviously. And Micah, if anyone has earned the right to like talk or whatever, it's certainly him. But like, dude, George Kittle specifically had 3 touchdowns. It was a career high for him. And they have, like, on the subject of 3, they've beaten you 3 times in a row,
Yep.
twice in the playoffs. And then this was the one you wanted after that. This was CeeDee Lamb, speaking of 3, said before the week 3 game in Arizona that they lost, that separation would come in week 5. The separation only grew. Like, you did not separate in the way you wanted to. Like, you absolutely demanded this opportunity. You told us you were pissed off. You told us all this stuff. It's all meaningless. And so, like, I don't mean to, again, return to the point, but like, they will be a good team. They will be a playoff team, but like, it is meaningless because at some point they're either going to have to beg for somebody else to beat the 49ers, or they're going to run into the same issue down the road.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed watching the Cowboys lose because there was some debate. It was like, should Eagles fans root for the 49ers to lose since the 1 seed? And I'm like, I get that. I understand what you're saying. But to just assume the Eagles are going to win a division that has not had a repeat winner in nearly 20 years, like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to just assume that. And the Cowboys, prior to this game, were looking pretty good. So I'm glad they lost. It does have to feel like, and I can actually relate to Cowboys fans on this from a Sixers fan perspective. Like, you have this ceiling on your team. The Sixers can never get out of the second round. Like, they can't do it. They just can't do it. And you just have no reason to believe they can until you see it happen. With the Cowboys here, and specifically going up against this team, and if they played this team in the playoffs, I do think it would be closer. I don't think it'd be like, just because they blew them out this time, I don't think it's definitely
it'd be
a blowout
closer
next
because
time.
it'd be hard to get blown out by 32 points again. Like, so that's the
Sure.
only reason I'm willing to agree it would be closer.
But there's no, like, just like there was going into this game, there's really no good. You couldn't possibly pick the Cowboys. You just couldn't do it. That doesn't mean the Cowboys couldn't win the game, but like, there's no reason to believe they could going into that game. And knowing that is just like analyst, like, there has to be some of that in the players' minds too. I mean, not every single player, maybe not entirely, but it's there more than not at all. And it's really tough. It has to be really tough for Cowboys fans to just like know that that cap is on your team. I mean, maybe you can avoid, facing the 49ers in the playoffs. It's
Well,
possible. I
like,
mean,
that sucks
not
to root
likely,
for,
maybe,
though. Like, that
but
that
exactly.
sucks to like to have them be so rent free in the Cowboys' minds and like Cowboys fans' minds, because like, how can they not be? And unlike Eagles fans relative to Dak Prescott, we're willing to admit this. Like, we're willing to admit, like, yeah, this team owns us. You know what I mean? And so like, that's a really just kind of frustrating place to be. And like, I don't fault them for talking about it and for acknowledging what it was.
Mm,
But like, you can't then just like get blown out and quit. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, again, I don't like, I don't mean to just keep talking in circles, but like, it's I'm fine with how they talked about it. Oh, of course, Stats is here.
oh, who's here?
That was
Oh,
really, really
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
actually really happy about this. I don't know that Brandon recognized that I had that I have the like permissions when we record here. So
I
like,
do
that was like,
recognize that. I
well,
do
like,
knew.
I
I knew
mean,
you were gonna know. I don't have them, but I had to have
I
Stats ambush you here.
I don't think this is an ambush because Stats can attest. I did not come into this game with bravado. So like, Stats is only here to confirm what I said was probably going to happen. But Stats, it's wonderful to see. I hope you had a great time watching your favorite team and the San Francisco 49ers.
Hi, boys. How are you doing, RJ? How's life?
Again, stats. I'm really happy for you, but like this isn't the victory lap that either of you thinks it is. I
Oh,
picked
every
the
time the
Niners to
Cowboys
win
lose,
this
it's
game.
never devastating to you. It's just fine. You're fine with it.
You came in, you did an
Anyway, sorry.
ambush after the Eagles beat the Andy Dalton led Cowboys 3
Look,
years ago,
I had
and
to take
stats is coming in
advantage of my time, and I did.
because the Eagles so rarely beat the Cowboys. That's true. Stats, the
I mean,
moment
that
here
was
is
the
yours.
first season we were doing the SB Nation NFL show, which we used to do with our good friend Stats, and we missed doing. Stats, how are you, pal?
Stats,
I,
that gear looks fresh. Did you get it at Levi's?
yeah, the hat. I got the hat at Levi's. It was my first Niners game, first football game on Sunday at Levi's. It was
Wow.
absolutely insane, the environment there. And I'm sure you've talked about it. And I do have to give you credit, RJ. You have laid it out that the 49ers are the Cowboys' daddy. I mean, Niners were up 14-0 before the Cowboys even got their first down in the game. I don't know what the knock is on the 49ers, and I've given the Eagles a ton of credit because I think they're winning while they're figuring it out, and I think the Eagles are getting better, but there is no knock on the 49ers right now. I don't care if you're a Dolphin fan, if you're an Eagle fan, whatever team you root for, that you have to say the Niners are the best team in the league right now.
I agree. I have the number one in my power rankings.
I would offer that the Eagles didn't play this Niners team in the NFC Championship game, which was the conversation that led to a lot of fighting on the internet between the two fan bases, obviously. But like, I mean, and stats, I don't think it's a straw man argument, but I haven't seen at this point anyone saying that Brock Purdy is just like along for the ride. Like, and I know you've been talking about this as well. Everybody go check out the Gold Standard Network that Stats and his staff obviously do a great job with. But like he is a part of this. Like it's he's not like riding coattails. I don't know that he's like the straw stirring the drink, but he has a very, very prominent role. Like it is no longer just like this machine. He's not Krang inside the machine in the Ninja Turtles. Like he is an equal Avenger that is a part of the entire ensemble.
For years, what we've said about this 49ers offense is, hey, the roster's great. They've got the advantage everywhere except quarterback. And now I'm not quite so sure you can say that with this team anymore. Brock has 10 career starts. He's got 20 career touchdown passes. He still doesn't have an interception on the season. He is making big throws and big time plays. Even against the Cowboys, you saw it. 3rd and 13. Oh, big throw to Ayuk. Oh, there's a penalty. Never mind. Wipe that out. Next play, he hits Deebo Samuel over the middle for 42 yards on an absolute dime of a throw. This is not the 49ers with Jimmy Garoppolo making life worse. Brock makes life easier on the 49ers. And I've famously said I'm not sold on him, but man, every week he seems to make it harder and harder to say that.
Stats. Yeah, go ahead, BLG.
I have a couple. Stats' time is limited with us here, just so you know. But
well, I didn't know. That would have been nice to have known before.
Internet
whatever.
issues. I wanted to have him on earlier, but poor Stats is having some internet issues. Two questions for you, Stats. Number one, real quick. If the 49ers were to play the Cowboys again, let's say in San Francisco, because that would probably be the most realistic scenario in the playoffs, what would the spread have to be for you to take the Cowboys to cover?
I would say double digits at least.
I was going to say 9.5.
It's getting worse. The 49ers are like last in the playoffs last year. I think Kyle Shanahan kind of still didn't know what he thought about Brock. And so he very much kind of tried to hide him a little bit and like, just don't screw it up. And I think we could win. But you saw on Sunday night, that was not the case. Kyle is fully bought in. He's letting the ball rip. I mean, Christian McCaffrey did not even have that good of a game by his standards. And
and he fumbled at the goal line.
Yeah.
It could have been worse. And by the way, can you tell Micah Parsons to shut up? I mean, him saying after the game, oh, we're still on their level. You can't say you're still on the 49ers level when you called the game a measuring stick on the way in and then you got your doors blown off. Now he's talking about now it's personal with George Kittle. Like the t-shirt, that's what's gotten you feeling some kind of way, dude. We ended your season 2 straight years, but the t-shirt is what's got you mad. Deebo Samuel said it on Kay Adams this morning. You don't want to see the 49ers again, Micah, because it could be worse next time.
You came in late, Stats, but I already, covered this. And I'm like, again, I'm not, and you and I were texting about this on Monday. Like I'm not like, and for what it's worth, just so you're both aware, there's not a Cowboys fan out there that's like, hell yeah. Everybody is like, dude, stop. Like everybody is like, read the room. Like, they are our daddy. You just sometimes have to accept that. And if you want to prove it wrong, you're going to have to wait for an opportunity. And to your point, Stats, and to my point, and to the collective point, they demanded this opportunity, and they didn't just lose, they got destroyed. I mean, and so, like, the winner or history is written by the winners. And right now, the pen is in the hands of the San Francisco 49ers. Stats, I did want to say, I saw you quote tweet a bit. I tweeted during the game, like, I have no idea how the Niners don't win the Super Bowl. Like, I'm sure that's been said, but like, they,
Oh,
they
it's a long
are
season, my friends.
well, no, but that's been
But
said
how they
about
look
like
right now, yes.
that's been said about the 19 Niners who got to the Super Bowl, obviously. That's been said about them at different times over this, like, I don't know what to call it. It's not a dynasty, but this just like general run. But like, so they have looked like that team at times in the past, Stats, but like there is a significant gap, obviously, between the Niners and the Cowboys, but also between San Francisco and the field at this point.
Well, speaking of the field, I was going to ask the other question. I have one more after this one, really quick. Stats, how would you rank the teams in terms of threats to the Niners in the NFC specifically? I feel like you would put the Eagles one of two, right? Because
Don't do
you've
it,
said a lot
Stats.
about
Give
them.
us the content. Come on.
Clearly, the Eagles are number one, just
Boo.
because, you know,
Right.
as much as the playoff game, we know Brock got hurt,
Right.
whatever, but like the Eagles still dominated the line of scrimmage in that game.
Okay, Eagles
So
one.
I clearly have to put the Eagles one. Right now, I would go maybe Lions 2, Seahawks 3, just because the Seahawks lost to the 49ers 3 times the last year,
Right.
including getting their doors blown off in the
Division
playoffs.
opponent, yeah.
Yeah, so I go Eagles 1, Seahawks 2, or 3, and then
How
Lions
many
2.
do you
Yeah,
need to
I was
get
gonna
to
ask,
before the Cowboys? Where do the
Rams-
Cowboys come in?
Like Rams or Cowboys? I'm not like angling. I'm actually asking.
Cowboys, but only because the Rams have lost to the Niners 9 straight times in the regular season. So I know they won the NFC Championship game, but you ain't playing Jimmy Garoppolo this time. I'm pretty sure the offense could gain a positive yard in the last 10 minutes of the game, which they didn't do in the NFC Championship game. So I have to put the Cowboys ahead of the Rams, but only for that reason.
Vikings or Cowboys with Justin Jefferson, who's not holding out or
Come
whatever,
on.
according to Adam Schefter.
Vikings aren't even going to be in the playoffs.
No, but I mean, like the way you view
So
the Vikings have a really great offense. The Cowboys offense has looked really suspect. So like, I think that's a fair question if things worked out that way.
I mean, I guess I would put the Cowboys ahead of the Vikings because Dak is slightly more mobile than Kirk Cousins, although I don't know. But you can have that victory, but neither one's very high.
I've been not calling it a victory. I was curious until I asked. But Brandon.
Last one for me. I think one of the most prominent takes that Stats and I were aligned on, certainly in the SB Nation NFL show, that Mike McCarthy is not the guy you think he is. Stats, how scared of you were Mike McCarthy? How much fear did Mike McCarthy instill in your heart heading into that game?
0%, zero, nothing, no fear whatsoever. I was way more scared of the Cowboys offense with Kellen Moore than I was of it with Mike McCarthy. I mean, you just compare the two teams. The Niners are doing shifts. They're doing motion before every play. Cowboys look like they just line up and they were like, we'll hand it to Tony Pollard or we'll just have guys go deep on the outside for the Cowboys. The only short routes I felt like were in the middle of the field. I don't like Mike McCarthy. I've made no secret of it. I thought his offense got outdated at the end of Green Bay. And what are the signs, RJ, I'll ask you, that it's been updated, that it's anything different than what we've seen before?
There was a lot of efficiency through the first few weeks of the season. And it was difficult to properly gauge because they blew out the Giants and the Jets, right? Like it was not fair. And even the Patriots game was this like big blowout. And obviously the Cardinals game kind of got away from them. So that's why I tweeted, like, all my receipts are out there. I tweeted like right before kickoff. I was like, this is a really fascinating game to learn who the Cowboys are. And I didn't say that like, oh, watch, y'all are about to learn. It was like, no, like we're literally about to learn. And this was the first time since the Cowboys drafted Tyler Smith in the first round last year that they had their full intended starting offensive line left to right, and they got worked. And Stats, you and I talked about this on the Ochoa, on the BTB side of things before the game. Look, the Niners defense is incredible, and I don't mean this in any sort of slight kind of way, but they're not who they've been the last few years. You told us that. And you, by the way, a great call on Dre Greenlaw being the like underrated dude to watch. That was awesome by you. But like, would you not agree that like over the last 3 years, this is the, generally speaking, weakest Niners defense we've seen relative to context? And so like, you couldn't even capitalize on that. You said you were more worried about the Cowboys offense having success against the Niners defense that obviously this game was going to be won or lost when the Niners had possession of the ball. And Dallas offensively, y'all are bagging on Mike McCarthy. I always looked to just restore balance in the force. All right. And you guys were way on one end of the spectrum, but you're letting Dak off the hook. Like, we haven't even mentioned Dak's name yet. I mean, Dak was awful in this game. These are the first half possessions for the Cowboys. Punt off of a 3-and-out. Punt off of a 3-and-out. Tony Pollard's fumble, which was literally on the first play of that possession. Another 3-and-out. They went 3-and-out 3 of their first 4 possessions. Then they had the touchdown drive. Awesome. Then they went 3-and-out again. And then their last possession of the first half was 2 plays, and Dak took an inexplicable sack that evaporated any possibility of them taking away points. So you could effectively call that a 3-and-out. So we're talking about there were 3 effective 3-and-outs in the first half alone. That's not going to get it done against anyone, let alone potentially the best team in the NFL. And yes, Mike McCarthy absolutely deserves an enormous amount of blame for that. But so does the quarterback. Like, we all know that Dak is a really good quarterback. Call it top, whatever you want. But and the stuff about like, oh, he can't like show up in the big games is dumb and silly and whatever. But like, this gives that life, Stats. I mean, you can't no show against your daddy.
What did I say before the game? I wanted the Niners to go up 7 early. I wanted Dak to be down by 7 before he ever touched the ball. And that's exactly what happened in this game. I think the 49ers are in Dak's head. I really, really do.
They're in all of their head.
It was a perfect game script for the 49ers. They got up early, right out of the gate. First possession, Niners go right down the field and stuff it in the end zone. And the Cowboys just couldn't get going. They always worked out of a hole in this game, and the 49ers have done that to everybody. That's not just the Cowboy thing. San Francisco has trailed for 1 minute and 45 seconds this season.
Prior to the game, I forget who said it, but I think it was 49ers players. I think it was Fred Warner, actually. Maybe the broadcast team was quoting like, hey, the 49ers wanted the ball in Dak's hands, and they got that, and it worked out well in their favor. And also, RJ picked Mike McCarthy over Nick Sirianni as the NFC East head coach for All-Star team.
You picked Ron Rivera as a better overall coach than Mike McCarthy. If we're like,
no, that's not exactly what I did. That's
anyway,
not true.
The last thing on the subject of bagging on coaches, this is a conversation some Cowboys fans are becoming a little bit more hip to, but I'll ask you
You're
both.
Keeping stats along here.
Well, I know. I want to get Stats' question here. You were over here like, oh, what Eagles? Well, this isn't about the Eagles. All right. Dan Quinn gets 0 heat. Like, I'm in no way exonerating the offensive side of the ball for the Cowboys, but like, dude, like, I mean, it's when things are going well for the Cowboys. Oh, it's all Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn show, blah, blah, blah. Stats. I mean, just Kyle Shanahan owns him. Like, every Cowboys person is owned by their counterpart with the Niners. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so like, we have to talk, like, Dan Quinn is a masterful defensive play caller, but like, I mean, where is the criticism for him? You know what I mean? Like, there is never any. So I was curious if either of you felt passionately about this, Stats.
Well, I just think it's hilarious that Dan Quinn decided to show up in the game wearing all black. Little did he know he was wearing all black to his own funeral, because he was in a straitjacket on Sunday night.
Nice.
I had been afraid. I shouldn't say afraid, but I had been telling Niners fans like, hey, Dan Quinn kind of, does a number on Kyle Shanahan going into this game. I think it's a new day with the 49ers offense. This is an offense first team. And that's even with a defense as good as they have. And I just think that the league hasn't seen the 49ers with this kind of quarterback and this kind of offense yet. And so they haven't really adjusted. They will. No, they're not going to score 30 points every week like they have been. But right now, this is a new 49er team, and they're taking on all comers.
Well, Stats, we'll be talking to you when the Eagles and 49ers play. Highly anticipated game in Philly, week 13. That should be a pretty fun one. But where can the people find your fine coverage, Stats?
So if you want anything 49ers, it's Gold Standard 49ers Network. The podcasts are everywhere. We have a YouTube channel, Gold Standard Network. Please, please, please check that out. And I am on all the socials at Stats on Fire. Boom. Gentlemen, it has been too long, and I miss you both very, very much.
Stats, you're the best. It's always great to see you. Glad you had a great trip, even though it wasn't my favorite team's expense. I'm glad it was a memorable one. Saw all the photos. Looked like you had a good time. My last question is, what is that ice cream abomination that you posted a photo of?
Oh, yeah. I went to this like exotic milkshake place in Reno because I was in Nevada for a wedding a couple days ago, and it was just cookie dough ice cream with 2 giant cookies, and there were like chocolate chips stuck along the outside of the glass. To be honest, It was good.
Stats, you're not a big music guy. I'm sorry, but we do a thing now here on the mixtape where every guest has to pick a song. We pick a song and add it to the NFC
BLG
East
butchered
mix.
this. Every episode, we each add a song to an ongoing NFC East Mixtape playlist. And when we have guests on, for that, at the end of the episode, we give our songs. But so when guests are on, they get to add a song as well. So you are obviously a guest of the mixtape.
A lot of pressure
here.
A song. Didn't prep you for this.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to be cliche, but I got to go with DJ Khaled, right? All I do is win.
That's fair,
dude.
It's fair. It's a fair.
No,
point.
I'm not. I'm not
choice.
like mad about this, but like this is like
we didn't prep him. Didn't give any time to think. That's
your fault. I mean, I'm not taking blame.
You're right. I did forget about that, but I was so excited to have our old friend on and to throw it.
Yeah, I mean, like this was the equivalent of like, I don't know, guys. Let's go with Happy Birthday. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just
no. It's a good pick, Stats, because all the 49ers do against the Cowboys is win.
BLG landed the plane. That was a good way to put this. So
alrighty.
Stats.
We'll see you, Stats.
You have the best day ever, Stats.
All right, it already is. See you guys.
Later,
see
Stats.
You, pal.
Brandon, before we go to break, I wanted to bring. Oh, Stats is the best. That was a really good surprise. It wasn't an ambush. It was a surprise.
I know. It was kind of both. It was designed to be both.
I wanted to read this tweet to you. I don't feel this completely, but I thought this was interesting at least. And then we can go to break. Shout out to Jersey Bird 3 on Twitter, who tweeted at me. So my tweet was, I said, I'm not going to fault the Cowboys for admitting that this 49ers game was a big one for them because it obviously is given recent history. But if that is your mindset for it, you have to show up more than they did in the first half. And this was at halftime. I said another half to go, but a gross performance so far. So again, I don't blame them. But again, if you're going to say all that, you got to walk the walk. Jersey Bird 3 responded and said, remember when Sirianni admitted to wearing the Dallas Week shirt was stupid? This is that. I don't think it's stupid, but
wow.
I will give Sirianni credit because I didn't beforehand. He clearly recognized that like that made things, call it what you want, like more stressful, bigger, whatever, blah, blah, blah.
It didn't help.
Yeah. Like, and I don't know that like acknowledging the Niners owning the Cowboys, quote unquote, didn't help. But I think it forces you into trying to play up to something you have in your head. Well,
I mean, only could have hurt.
I don't think they're the same, but I thought that this was an interesting line of thought to me. And so, I mean, because if they hadn't acknowledged it, it would have been weird. You know what I mean? So they were in a lose-lose situation there. But
I think they went a little too far, though. Like, and again, CD talking about it after week 2, like it was clearly in their heads, maybe a little more than it should have been. And it is funny. You're right. Like, you can't be like, this is more than one game, and it's a playoff game for us. And then you lose, and it's like, actually, it's just one game. It's fine.
Charles Robinson had a great line about this in his intro when he wrote about it at Yahoo. And it was like, if you're going to call this like not a regular season game, then it's not a regular season loss. Like, you know what I mean? If it's not a regular old game, then it's not a regular old loss. And so like this, so like,
I mean, it literally is, but
right. But
figuratively,
so
no.
In the, like, that's how this is likened to me to the Sirianni thing. Like you made it not a regular game by doing the Dallas Week thing. That was a little bit more flagrant than acknowledging that the Niners owned the Cowboys, but like the result is sort of similar. So it was, again, I give Sirianni credit for acknowledging 3 years ago that the shirt was a bad idea.
Last
which
thing
I know
I'll
he took
say
heat for.
Is like getting beyond the scope of like, we talk a lot about the game itself, but just like, it's obviously a big loss just from a standing standpoint in terms of like tiebreakers, NFC playoff picture. Like these tiebreakers are going to be, I think, a really big deal between the Eagles, 49ers and Cowboys, all of them. And this is a big loss. Well,
especially because like, it's not just like, oh, we lost the tiebreaker, we don't have home field. It's like, well, no, you have to go back here. Like it's, you know what I mean? Like, so tough scene, but let's take a very quick break to hear a word from our sponsors. Welcome back. Brandon, did you really see the photo that Stats posted of the milkshake thing?
I did.
Or were you just making that up?
No, he was in Vegas, right? When he got that?
He just told us that he was in Reno, Nevada. Those are the words he said like 10 minutes ago.
But I was double checking that's where that was, as opposed to when he got out to California.
My point is, when I saw the photo, I was like, this doesn't look great. Like this, sometimes things could be too big. Like your Schwarberger, like I might enjoy that. I'm really happy that it was good, but like I might enjoy that if I'm sitting down. But like sitting in a seat, that would be very difficult to
Yeah,
eat.
I ate it standing up. It wasn't the most convenient thing.
Yeah, like that's all I'm saying. And like that kind of milkshake thing, like I don't know exactly what Stats was doing. It looked like I don't know if he was at some sort of casino, but he looked like in a hustly bustly kind of like,
Mhm,
area. Like that wouldn't be a fun thing to eat while
mhm.
you're moving around. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe you're sitting at a diner or whatever, like that would be cool, but not when you're rocking and rolling.
All right, we talked about the Washington Commanders a little bit on Friday Football Friday, aka TGI Football,
You
last
forgot the
week
name, didn't you?
on the SB Nation NFL show. No, I didn't. Um,
Yeah, I don't know that we
but
have to relitigate this game.
well,
Um,
not everyone heard that, so we'll get to some of it. But I mean, and it's been it's a long time ago, so we won't have to get in deep. I mean, it's just pathetic. Like that was really the Bears are terrible, have been terrible all year long. You made Justin Fields look good. That's really bad. Emmanuel Forbes is not playing well so far. Doesn't mean the book is written on his career, but it's absolutely fair to wonder if they made a huge mistake passing on Christian Gonzalez and going for him instead, especially when like that was consensus. Like Gonzalez was like a consensus kind of prospect around, I think above Forbes for most teams, or at least so it seemed to be on the big boards and everything, which aren't always right. But like you went against the grain, you kind of made like a big bold pick by doing that. And so far it is not working out. And Sam Howell didn't have a good game. And yeah, things are looking tough for the Commanders. There's a lot of fire Ron Rivera articles out there, Hogshaven, SBNation.com. I mean, sure you can, but that's not really you're not really changing a lot this season.
We talked so much about like things we're afraid of. Like you mentioned, you had been afraid that maybe they wind up with Caleb Williams. The Giants certainly seem closer to that potential at this point.
Yeah.
What I'm afraid of now, like my new fear, maybe you'll agree, is that
Mm.
Ben Johnson is the future head coach of this team. You know what I
That's
mean?
a
Like,
good call. Good
like,
call by
like,
you.
couldn't you
Yeah.
see like new
Yeah.
ownership looking for like a splash? You know what I mean? Like a
Yep.
face, like a young hotshot offensive mind, whatever. Like that is
Yeah.
my like of power rankings of our mutual fears. That might be number one.
Yeah, I don't know how, Bieniemy would factor into all that. Maybe they just
Right, right,
wipe the
right, right.
slate
I mean, but
clean.
yeah, we're speaking generally because like when there's a change, like you don't know what's being retained, what's not, whatever, blah blah blah. But
He's from
I'm even afraid of Eric Bieniemy having the keys at this point. Like, I mean, the offense has shown legitimate life. I mean, again, I don't know that like I'm afraid of the offense, but like that would be an improvement on the Ron Rivera era, and I'm opposed to any improvement, obviously.
Ben Johnson was born in Charleston, South Carolina, and went to high school in North Carolina and went to college in North Carolina. So, like not
But didn't he interview
super
for the Panthers job as well?
I don't know, but
I,
point being, like, he's not super far away from the DMV area, so that could be, a factor in there.
how
Yeah,
far are the
actually,
Carolinas from the DMV area?
I mean, not like it's not incredibly far, like an hour to a couple hours, I would say.
I'm
More
gonna look this
North
up.
Carolina, more so like 3 hours or so, I would say.
I'm
Point
gonna look
being,
this.
like, it's conceivable that there's like he might want to go back there to that kind of region of the country. It wouldn't be
I'm
too
just
far.
I'm gonna pick Raleigh as
No,
an
I did. I
example.
think I said Charlotte.
Okay, Charlotte. We'll do Charlotte.
Where you
I'm
went
gonna
to
do
college.
Charlotte to what's a fair, I mean, FedEx Field, just like, like
Yeah, whatever.
um it is a 6-hour drive.
Oh yeah, it's
So
longer than I thought.
yeah, I was gonna say, dude, because you were like, oh, it's like an hour. Like
I
what?
don't
Like,
know. Whatever. That's close enough. Whatever. Anyway, I do agree with you. That's a concern that they could get Ben
they're
Johnson. But yeah,
so
rest of
bad,
this.
dude. I also think I don't think it would be fair to fault them for this, but like I think people are gonna make, and we'll do it too. But people are gonna make fun of them for not picking up Chase Young's 5th-year option. You know what I mean? Like, because if there's one thing that looks stout right now, or
Mm,
that you can like be excited about, it's Chase Young. But like, how can you like when he's probably gonna leave?
there's actually an interesting article on Hongshaven about how like the Commanders' defense has been better without Chase Young. You should go read that. It's interesting. I don't think you can blame them for that because, well,
Right. Well, you
the
would blame
injury
them with the benefit of hindsight, which everyone obviously
but the
has.
injury thing was in there too, and I don't know them. They might have had medical information that suggested things are really concerning. So I don't know. I can't speak on that. I will say that like we talked about, there was this you beat the Eagles, let's say, you're what, 3-1 at that point, a
Oh,
chance
dude, yeah, that was their butterfly effect, right?
chance to maybe capitalize on that momentum. I don't know that just because you definitely beat the Eagles, that means you beat the Bears, but like you had this opportunity, and then even moving forward, they're still like, let's look at their next several games coming up here. They play in Atlanta, They play against the Giants.
Taylor
They
Heineke revenge game, by the way.
They host the Eagles. Then they play away against the Patriots. So they like have a stretch here to still be competitive, like still kind of hang around for that seventh playoff seed, that third wild card spot, as you've talked about. So they're not dead yet. They haven't been written off, but certainly not in the best spot at 2-3 here. And in a division where your division winner has a tiebreaker over you currently and is 5-0.
Well, and not only a tiebreaker over you currently, but where you were literally 2 yards away from winning. You know what I mean? Like you were 2 yards away from having that. And so like, again, you're right. Like it's not fair to say like, oh, if they go for 2 and if they get it, or, you know, that they beat the Bears on Thursday night, but like it just sets up the like the punt mentality in your mind. You know what I mean? Like it's just tough scene.
They would. I mean, if they go for it, they get it. Like they're still, even if they lose to the Bears, they're still, because they have the tiebreaker over the Eagles, because the Eagles are 4-1 at that point. Like you're conceivably still competing for the division, and now like it's kind of like really not. It's kind of wild card at best, barring a collapse and a big surge.
Are we ready to move on? I mean,
I think so.
The New York Giants got destroyed, despite picking Tua Tagovailoa off 2 times and returning one of them for an interception, for a touchdown. Did you know that was the longest play in the NFL this year, the pick 6?
I believe it. And also, like, Tua just threw it right to the Giants.
Yeah.
I don't even think it was like this incredible, like, oh, wow, amazing play, as much as he just threw it right to them.
I have a take about this game. It was the final score 31-16. That's weird. The Giants blue is not meant to be like in the 1 o'clock Miami sun. It looked weird. You know what I mean? It looked out of place.
I can see that.
I don't know what it is about that, but like it felt weird. Maybe you're so used to kind of bright colors there. It's a little bit more subdued, but dude, yeah, like this is a tough scene. Daniel Jones was sacked how many times? 8 times or 7 times, whatever. I mean,
he's hurt. He's dealing with neck pain again, neck injury. He might play still in week 6, but like he's banged up.
On Sunday Night Football against the Bills. Woo! Like
I have a stat for you here that I shared with you offline. Well, online, but off the podcast. People use that phrase, don't they?
I was literally about to say, like, that's a great.
That doesn't make sense. You're probably sharing it online most of the time.
The only way you wouldn't be
saying that
online is if it was like a text message. That would technically not be like online. That's on like cell service. You know what I'm saying? So, but great discovery. We're having some great. We were left-footed early on, but we have found our footing here.
Well, I was talking to Jimmy Kempski today about the phrase, because he started off the podcast BGN Radio episode 355 by saying he was feeling under the weather, and I'm like, well, does anyone ever say they're over the weather? And if you did, it would be like, oh, I'm over this weather. Like I hate the weather that's happening. I'm over it. No one says I'm ever over the weather. So I don't know, kind of interesting. But anyway, here's the stat from, once again, our good friend Shil Kapadia. The Giants have been outscored by 91 points through 5 weeks. That's not only the worst point differential in the NFL, but is the second worst point differential for the Giants since the year 2000. Only the 2013 Giants were worse. This is pathetic. It's one thing to be struggling, and it's one thing to be what the Vikings are, right? Like they're 1-4, but they've been in 1-score games. They've been competitive. Like they've had some bad luck go their way, and that was due after having good luck go their way last year. So they're 1-4. They only have they have the same record, right, as the Giants do. But man, like the Giants are terrible. I have them, I think, dead last. No, I have them 31st. I only have the Broncos worse than them in my power rankings. They're horrible. And as we've said, when you look at their schedule, it's not about to get any better. They're the Bills next. They're about to drop to what, 1-5.
I have them 30th. I have them right behind the Broncos, just because Russell Wilson has shown some positive signs. You know what I mean? Like individually, like more than Daniel Jones has at this point. Whatever. But it is a tough look for the Giants right now. I've said the word tough in a lot of podcasts.
Do you think
go figure.
There's a scenario where Dable could get fired? Because like this is not competitive football. And if they keep playing non-competitive football, I don't know. What if they hire Ben Johnson? Potentially could be a candidate for them. I mean, it'd be funny a year after winning Coach of the Year, but like I just don't think you owe him anything. Especially if you're this disastrous. This is terrible. Like what do you do? That's as I always talk about. The coach is the easiest lever to flip. Like what? They can't get rid of Daniel Jones, really. Like what move are you going to make?
Yeah, it's just money that you're burning, right? Like, which is true, but I mean, it's not like working against your salary cap. So
And they're not a
we mentioned
well-coached
Mark.
team. Like,
Well,
coaching is very
dude,
much an issue.
I said this a week ago. I was like, why is nobody bagging on Brian Dable? Like, Daniel Jones has become like the poster boy for it all, which is really, I mean, unfair. Like, Jones has been awful, but like, again, Dable's not been good. But everyone's like using Jones's awfulness as like an excuse for Dable. Like, oh, well, he can only do so much. Like, well, no, he can do a lot more. Like, he's the head coach. The scenario, though, to answer your question, and I mentioned this to Mark Schofield, who we mentioned earlier at the top. Mark, for the people who don't know, Mark is a Patriots fan. And so I asked Mark when we broke down the 34-0 loss that they had, where's Bill Belichick coaching next year? The Giants, dude. Like, like, wouldn't that be the move that the Bear family would consider making? Like, oh, you know what?
Oh,
Like,
you're so right. I
like,
forgot about that. That's so
right, like,
pathetic.
yeah, like, oh,
And
of
that would
course,
be,
like,
and it would be so much like, off season, like written about it. Like, oh, he's
right.
found
It
his
would
new
be like
groove.
the
All he just needed is a
return.
fresh start.
Yeah, like he's passionate about this. Like, for the younger audience that doesn't know, Bill Belichick was the Giants defensive coordinator in the 80s under Bill Parcells, and they won 2 Super Bowls together. And he's, obviously was a big part of Lawrence Taylor's career. And like, he really does have, like, I'm not joshing around. Like, he has a deep affection for the New York. He's
And they
a
would
football
trade for
historian.
him too. Like, they would trade
Right.
for
So
him. They would
it
give up
would
something for him.
the situation that is comparable in my mind is Brian Dable is to Josh Rosen what Bill Belichick is to Kyler Murray, right? Like, you punt on the, like, short-term experiment you've had in the name of what you believe to be this once in a generational opportunity, because you have the opportunity to go out and get it. So it would be like, you have people say, like, how can you fire Brian Dable after 1 year after you won coach there? Oh, because we can get Bill Belichick. Like, that's why we're going to do it.
I think that's the good calls by you between the Ben Johnson thing and the Belichick thing. You're on point, unlike the Cowboys. If you could only keep one of Brian Dable or Joe Shane, and you have to keep one, let's say,
Joe Shane,
for the sake of this argument, I don't know. I think because he's been really bad too, and I think I think you said Dable's skating criticism. I think Shane, at least from the outside looking in, I think that tends to happen anyway. A lot of the struggles that the Eagles had in 2020 were directed at Doug Peterson, who got fired when Howie Roseman, in reality, was also very much to blame for what happened.
Let me rephrase the question. If you could have Joe Shane and Bill Belichick, or Brian Dable and anyone, what would you rather have?
I mean, anyone is, obviously a really
Well, I
wide
mean,
field. Let's
you
say,
get my point. Like, of all
yeah,
possible
but talent's an issue
permutations.
too. I don't think it's a no. Oh, actually, no. Wait, yeah, I mean, I don't think Belichick. No, absolutely, give me Dable in a promising young GM. Let's say the 49ers have someone who's under like John Lynch. I think. Let's just say him for example. No, I absolutely take that because Belichick is cooked, and at least if he doesn't have a Hall of Fame quarterback, he's not going to move the needle for the Giants.
I'm not advocating for Bill Belichick, like, in terms of like today,
I
like,
get that.
as a sound mind. But like, again, if like, it's hard to be disappointed. You know what I mean? If your team goes out and acquires Bill Belichick to be their head coach, like, there's a lot.
I think it is disappointing for the Giants here. I think that would be disappointing. That would be very disappointing.
You're right, though. It would be a really exhausting offseason of like stories, and there would be like 18 5,000 word think pieces written about how this was like always in the making and blah blah blah, and the fact that the Giants are the team that beat the Patriots in the 2 Super Bowls, and obviously the Eagles did as well. But like, I mean, it would just be obnoxious.
And if you brought in Belichick, part of the problem there is you wouldn't keep Shane, or at least he wouldn't have the same amount of power. Like, Belichick probably isn't coming without some level of personnel power as well.
Right. Well, then you
Which
can
has
keep
been
Shane,
bad.
it doesn't really matter. Okay. Are we ready to spin forward and wrap this up?
Yes.
Okay. In chronological order, the Washington Commanders are visiting the Atlanta Falcons. Washington is getting 2.5 points in Mercedes-Benz Stadium on Sunday.
Who are they playing?
The Falcons. We talked about this. Taylor Heineke revenge. I'm going to take the Falcons.
Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and that always throws me off because of the Superdome being
it's the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. Mercedes-Benz.
Yeah, but that
Stadium.
Always, like, when I hear Mercedes-Benz, I always get confused, which is I mean, like,
it
throws me.
If you were BLG for the Saints or Falcons, you would hate this so badly, because like, you would be like, how could you share a title sponsor with your division rival?
Oh yeah,
division rival.
I hate it now. It sucks. It's confusing. Right. It doesn't make any sense.
Okay, 2.5 points for the Commanders.
There's like a billion sponsors in the world. Pick any other sponsor. Like, why does it have to be the same sponsor?
Yeah, why are you
What's
not
the
like the
line
Chick-fil-A stadium if you're Atlanta? 2.5. That Atlanta's laying 2.5.
against the Commanders?
Yeah, dude, you're so confused. Yes.
You make the pick first.
I just said it. I'm gonna take the Falcons. Your boy, Desmond Ridder, who you're the only person I not believe in,
Yeah,
coming
he
off of the
stinks.
best game in his career. I
Okay.
don't trust that at
Who'd he
all.
beat? The
But
Texans?
I
Great.
I mean, what a bad beat for me with my lock
Yeah.
of the week, by the way.
Half of a
But
point. Off by half of a point. That's
I
tough.
know,
I feel
dude.
bad.
Um,
My lock of the week hit,
Uh,
by the way. I meant to mention that with the Giants not even covering against the Dolphins.
Bijan
And
will do something like amazing in this game. So like I'll take the Falcons.
I'm gonna take the. I guess I'd feel dumb taking the Commanders, wouldn't I? I'd regret that. Yeah, I'll
Yep.
take the Falcons.
Okay. The Eagles. So we have actually Commanders are at noon, Eagles are in the afternoon, Giants are Sunday night football, Cowboys are Monday night football. So you can
Hey,
watch all 4 games separately. But
hasn't that happened again? Like
aforementioned.
that's happened multiple times this year. Weird.
Yeah. Well, they've all been on primetime. It's just been crazy.
Mm.
But so the Eagles are in the afternoon at MetLife Stadium against the New York Jets, who they have never lost to as a franchise.
Since 1973.
The Jets are getting 7 points at home.
Ooh, that moved
Touchdown.
up. It opened at 6.5.
I keep saying it like I last week. This is not as true as it was a week ago, but the Eagles have looked to be on somewhat shaky ground, relatively speaking. But until they lose and there's a like undeniable reason to pick against them, I'm not going to. They have the benefit of the doubt currently, so I will lay 7 points for the
Have
Eagles.
literally never lost to the Jets, as we mentioned. Also now 13-1 straight up as road favorites under Nick Sirianni, and 7-7 now against the spread under in the same circumstances. So
I would love to see the Jets be competitive. Like again, like I think everyone kind of feels bad for them, like But so like I would like to see a good game here. But it's just
well,
we're just trying to wish for something that can't happen. I mean, like I
I
know the
I
Eagles
don't think
secondary
that's.
is
Go
what
ahead.
you're not rooting for the. I was gonna say I know the Eagles secondary is a little bit whatever. Like maybe Garrett Wilson has like you can't even talk yourself into it. You know what I mean? It's just you can't like because of Zach Wilson. Like he just weighs them, and then like I feel bad for him. But like I would love to see that. Like I'm saying, like it would be cool. It would be a cool story to see it take off. I just can't bet on it. Is my point.
Take off. Nice little Jets pun there. With the plane.
I always say that they should call their
Uh,
Ring of Honor the Hanger.
yeah, that's good. I like that.
Yeah.
I do think it's a little premature to say it's going to be like a cakewalk for them. Jets have been competitive, even though Zach Wilson, I don't think is good. And okay, I do think one thing that's hurting the Jets is I think this past game was kind of their Super Bowl. The Nathaniel Hackett thing of it all.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
there was like a lot of like emotional weight into that game, and I get it, but at the same time, like I kind of wonder if that's a little bit of a letdown scenario for them going into this game against a team and interconference opponent. Well, I was thinking inter versus intra.
This is the battle of
And
Greens, by the way. The winner
yeah,
gets to
well,
call themselves that.
of Green Nations too for SB Nation.
That's
We have
true. That's
Bleeding Green
true.
Nation was first, but then Gang Green Nation came along. So we have GGN and BGN going head to head here. I think the Eagles are going to win the game. I think that's pretty fair to say. They have
Do
not.
the emotional hedge again.
Well, I just think the Jets have been competitive this year. Okay, so they battled back to beat the Bills in week 1. They lost by 20 points to the Cowboys. It was a one-score game at halftime before the Cowboys pulled away later in the game.
And it was the first week post Rodgers. Like a lot of shock in the building, so to speak. I don't know. I think Brandon's internet is struggling at this point. We're so close to the end. We're so close. I'm going to keep buying him time. Brandon's internet is out. It's out. I don't think it's my internet. My internet is stable as a rock right now. Brandon is frozen. I'm going to text him, see if this is an issue. This is so much suspense. Your internet good? Question mark. See. It's a tough scene for Brandon. I think he's going to take the emotional hedge here. Personally, I think that Brandon's going to take the points, but take the Eagles to win. And how could you not at this point in time? I have texted him, and I have not. Oh, he's out of the stream now. I'll give him a few minutes. Yeah, I think Brandon's going to take the Eagles to win, and the Jets. Oh, he's trying to come back. Let's see here. Is he back? He's not back yet. This is so actually it's kind of, I was gonna say it's not dramatic. This has gotten kind of dramatic, interestingly enough, as of late. What else is going on? I'm waiting for the Houston Astros to start on Tuesday. Got a text from Brandon. Does it look like it's gonna happen? Let's see here. This is super suspenseful as I read text messages on a podcast. I never really thought that we would be doing this on the mixtape. He's got an outage in his area. Let me ask him. See, Eagles -7. Let's see, you can pick that. And the Giants, I've given him all the lines so I can get his answers over text message. And oh my gosh, I'll explain what I'm oh my goshing in a moment here. Let's see here. Come on now. Brandon has all the information. So oh my gosh. So Brandon is going to give me his answer in a moment for all these 3 remaining games. I think he's going to go Eagles to win, but Jets to cover, as mentioned. He's typing right now. The New York Giants are on the road on Sunday. Let's see here. He's going to see if he can get back in. Let's see. This is a super. We had such a great show. The stats thing was such a great surprise, and now we got some turbulence, but we're gonna make it. Don't worry. I promise. But yeah, I mentioned I was waiting for the Houston Astros. You're gonna know the result of the game, whether they're up 2-1 or down 1-2. I think they're gonna be up 2-1. I think the Astros are gonna win. I think the Orioles are gonna win. No way the Orioles are getting swept. I just don't see that happening. But we have a lot of Rangers fans who listen, obviously, on the BTB side, so they're obviously rooting for a sweep. He's typing right now. It's typing a lot, so it must be a long message for him. He tap dances a lot for me when Bear barks, so it's all good around here. I got your back, Brandon, with the tap dancing. I'm also really excited to eat some lunch. So that's really where we're at. I don't know how long this text message is going to be, but anyway, I'll go ahead and offer my picks while we wait for Brandon. I'm taking the Eagles to win and cover. I mentioned the Giants. I couldn't remember if they were on the road or if they're at home, but the Giants are on the road in Buffalo, the only stadium in New York in the NFL. Blah blah. The Bills are 14-point home favorites. Oh my gosh, against the Giants. Even though the Bills lost last week, but the Giants are just that bad. That's. Brandon loves this expression. That's a lot of points. That is a lot of points, but I'm going to take the Bills to win and cover. And the reason I, oh my gosh, a little while ago, the Cowboys opened as 3.5-point favorites for their Monday night game, which is on the road against the Chargers, although not exactly a formidable home field environment. But they opened as 3.5-point favorites. We use DraftKings Sportsbook here at SB Nation. That is now down to 2. Dallas only 2-point favorites. Yeah, that is interesting to say the least for the Cowboys. Oh, he's back. I think he's back. Yay!
Connection's going to be here, but I'm on my hotspot. Okay. My router's not working, so I'm going to try to be this quick. Last thing I said on my end was that Jets lost that game to the Cowboys, but also it was a short week for the Jets too, in addition to losing Rodgers. They played the Patriots. That game literally came down to the last play. Jets almost converted a Hail Mary to steal it and win. Didn't play well. But point being, they've been a tough team this year. I think things might be a little closer early on. I think Zach Wilson turning the ball over, especially because Jets offensive line isn't great. Eagles defensive line is good. Specifically, the Jets are now without their best offensive lineman, Elijah Vera Tucker, out for the year. The Jets will be starting a guy named Max Mitchell against Hassan Reddick, who's heating up. So I think that's kind of not a matchup in their favor. I think the Eagles' run defense has been stout and will be able to kind of limit the Jets' rushing attack, forcing Zach Wilson to throw a little bit more than ideally he should. So I think the Eagles do win, and they'll eventually pull away and cover. They're trending in the right direction. They're clicking. There should be plenty of Eagles fans up there at MetLife. I will take Eagles to win and cover.
Okay, I predicted that's what I was doing while you were gone. You to take the Eagles to win, but you were going to take the points. So let's get out of here quickly. Giants 14-point dogs on the road.
Yeah, Giants will lose to the Bills, and it'll be not close. So I will take the Bills to cover.
That's what I took. The listeners already know my picks, so this is kind of cool. You're the only person who doesn't.
I can't wait for this game.
The Cowboys Chargers. BLG is kind of a closet, not really a closet Chargers fan. You love the Chargers.
I have stopped giving the Chargers the benefit of the doubt, so I'm going to take the Cowboys outright to win. But I mean, the scenario again where let's say the Eagles win and they're 6-0, and the Cowboys lose to Kellen Moore and drop to 3-3, and the Eagles have a 3-game lead in week 6.
And the Cowboys have to sit and stew on that on their bye. I don't know if you knew that they were on their bye after that.
That'd be the worst possible outcome.
Oh my gosh, everybody heard it except for you, because Dallas, kind of like you talked about with the Philly game, Dallas opened as 3.5-point favorites for this game, and that line is now down to 2. So, 1.5 that moved. So that's kind of interesting. So, all right, songs. Think I actually
it really is. Sorry, last thing. It really is like the anti. It is like specifically because you're not like a Justin Herbert guy, so it would be really devastating for you between the Kellen Moore and the Herbert aspect.
I don't like not like Justin Herbert. I just sometimes the internet gets a little out of control. That's really my.
I didn't say you hated him. I just said you're not a Justin Herbert guy.
No, I'm a fan of his.
That's fair to say. But
I'm a fan of. I'm what annoys
me. You're not
a
Justin Herbert guy. You're just not. You're not. I'm not saying that means you hate him, but you're not like one of his biggest proponents. You're not.
Anyway, song time. So we got All I Do Is Win from Stats. That is officially on the books. Rachel got her song, and she went with a banger, We Can't Stop by Miley Cyrus.
Wow.
Excellent choice by Rachel. I'm going to throw back in time as well. We Can't Stop, kind of a 2013 sort of song. All I Do Is Win. I don't even know what the tier that kind of, but it's definitely on. I'm going to go Uptown Funk by Bruno Mars. It's just kind of, it's funky right now for the Cowboys. It's just funky kind of time. I need something to give me some good, beats to move around and feel jovial about something. But what is your song, Brady?
Okay. I'm gonna go really far back in time and pick Toccata and Fugue and D minor BWV 565 by Johann Sebastian Bach. I said I wanted to start doing some Halloween stuff, some spooky music. This is that song that goes like with the organ, do 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 do, like that, like Halloween scary music. So I'm throwing that on there. Boom.
I need you to Slack me that because there's no way I'm going to remember that.
Yeah, I will.
Okay. Brandon, as we leave, I would like you to tell me your 3 favorite things about Stats.
3 favorite things about.
Actually, 3 favorites too hard. 3 really good things about Stats. That's a little bit easier.
Yeah, 3 really good things about Stats. I mean, this is easy because there's a lot of things to pick from. Number 1, sweetest guy I could ever know. That's number 1. Number 2,
you know me, I'm pretty sweet, but whatever. Okay.
I think he's really smart and like good at thinking on his feet. Like he did the song. Like you can throw things at him and he reacts quickly. He's good. And number 3 is that he roots for a team that beats the Cowboys a lot. And I like that. Even though you took me off of the screen and you put me on the title card, but it's fine. People can still hear me, especially the audio listeners. See ya.